Hey guys, Erin here with the 10 top questions you can ask a VA during your interview process. Now, at some point in every entrepreneur's life, you have probably uttered the words, "How can I clone myself?" And while cloning isn't a thing yet, your next best option is to hire a virtual assistant. Now, I myself am a VA. I've been doing this since 2012, and I'm here to tell you there are great questions you can ask VAs and not so great questions you can ask. And in this video, we're gonna go over the 10 questions that you should be asking a prospective VA to help you find the absolute best fit for your business. All right, let's start with number 1. What types of services do you offer? What types of services are out of your scope? And what types of services are you interested in learning? The reason this question is so crucial is because it will help you understand if the VA you're interviewing is telling you things that they think you want to hear, or if they're being genuine. And you can tell the difference, trust me, because a general VA who thinks that they're just trying to please you to get the job is not necessarily the person you want. You don't want somebody desperate who's willing to lie about their services. You want somebody who offers the services that you need, that naturally align, and somebody who has an interest in potentially learning more about your business. So ask this question as early as possible, because this will immediately give you a better idea as to whether this VA is just bullshitting you or whether this VA is primed to fit your business. Now, the bonus question of what are you interested in learning is actually a great way to suss out whether this VA is self-motivated and if they have any interest in your business. Question number 2, what's your preferred method of communication? Now, this is a great question because the VA might tell you however you want to communicate, which I argue is a shitty answer. Because if they have 20 clients and each of those 20 clients has a distinct method of communication, then that means they're getting slammed on Slack, Telegram, WhatsApp, text message, phone, email. They might miss one of the tasks that you're sending them because they are scatterbrained and all over the place. So it is actually beneficial to have a VA who's going to tell you what they prefer. And while VAs do need to be a little flexible, for example, if you're a client who loves to talk on the phone, then it is helpful to have a VA who's available and able to chat on the phone, at least for a weekly check-in with you. But if you have a VA who says, "I'll do anything," that probably signifies they're not a good fit and they're just trying to please you. You're actually looking for a VA who might say, you know what, I prefer to communicate via email, but I'm open to calls and text messages. Or I prefer to communicate via text, but I'm open to methods that you are. Let's explore. So something like that is okay, but just be aware of the person who promises everything. Question 3, have you ever fired a client? Now, this is a question that can often trip up VAs because it's not something that people typically ask, but it is something that most, if not all, VAs have had to do before. Not every client is a good fit, and it takes a lot of grace and finesse to let a client go without burning bridges. So if you ask your prospective VA, have you ever fired a client? And they respond with something like, "Oh no." Okay, maybe they're very new, but if they respond with something like, "You know, I actually have 6 months into a relationship, it was not a good fit. I realized that there was a better VA out there for them, so I let them go." Something like that indicates that they've got your best interest in mind, but it also indicates that they have some project management under their belt. It also indicates that they might be good with communication or managing teams or people. And if you're an entrepreneur who works with several different people, your VA could potentially manage those people someday. So just keep that in mind, okay? A VA doesn't need to just be one and done just for you. They can also morph into more of a project management type role. And somebody who has experience with hiring, firing, and running their own business as a VA is somebody who's well adept at project management type work. Question 4, what would you do if I gave you an assignment that you later realized you didn't understand? Now, this is a thing that happens all the time. It's inevitable because they're human. They might think they understand what you want, only to realize later that they're either missing some crucial pieces to finish the task, or it's vague and maybe they don't really understand it at all. You want a VA to respond that they have no problem coming back to you to ask for clarification. There are some VAs who are just too dang embarrassed and will never ask for clarification and will turn in incorrect work. On the flip side, the other extreme, there are VAs who will ask you 100 million questions. So you might say to them, book me a flight to Tallahassee next week, and they come back with a full page of questions. Meanwhile, you've given them all the details you need, you just want them to book the flight. So you want to find somebody in that happy medium, somebody who will ask you if they need clarification, but also somebody who will try to figure it out themselves first. So look for the VA who indicates that if they've tried everything they could or have looked for answers online or have looked for some guidance and they're still a little more unclear, that's a good proactive person who's tried it on their own and is not afraid to say that they need a little more help. Number 5, how do you prioritize tasks and what happens if you don't get something done on time? Now, this is a great question. Now, I myself as a VA, when I talk to other VAs, I encourage them to set up a kind of prioritization system with their clients. So a good VA will come back to you with a response about how they'll set up a priority system with you to better understand your priorities, or you'll come up with some secret language so that they can better understand what tasks you want to get done faster. So a good VA will simply ask you, well, what sort of priorities do you have? What's important in your business? A great VA will also be able to tell you if they're not going to get the project done on time like they thought, they'll tell you. There is nothing worse than a VA over-promising and under-delivering. So if you've got somebody who says, no problem, I can get it all done, no problem, today, you actually want a VA who's a little more realistic, who can be able to say, I'll look over the task that you've sent. If I'm running behind for whatever reason, or if I've been hit with some sort of client emergency, I will absolutely tell you and keep you abreast of the situation. It is always my goal to get my work done as fast as possible, but if something arises, I'll let you know ahead of time. Basically, you want the VA who's going to be honest with you. Number 6, can you tell me about a time that you contradicted a client? Now, this is a great question, and it's a question that a lot of VAs don't expect. But the reason this is such a great question is because it will give you insights as to whether they are going to help propel your business forward. If the VA answers with something like, well, I guess I would, it typically signifies that they've not ever faced a situation like this before. So they might either be a little new, green, they're thinking on their feet. What you do want to look for is for a VA who's going to say, I'm always on the lookout for ways to make your business and our relationship more efficient, more effective, because that's a VA who's got your back. That's a VA who's willing to invest in their time and learn about your business and help you become the most proactive person that you can be. Number 7, let's say you're working on something important and your computer crashes. What do? A good VA will have a backup plan no matter what. They'll know where the nearest cafe, library, open Wi-Fi. Hopefully they will have VPN when they're on something like Starbucks Open Network. But a good VA will have a backup plan, a way to get somewhere, or worst case scenario, a way to let you know that there's an issue. So if their computer's crashed, if their Wi-Fi is out, hopefully they can still get to a phone or get to some method of communication quickly enough to let you know, hey, there's been a disruption in my service. I'll be back up and running as soon as I can. So there's really no excuse. Any VA who doesn't tell you that they have a backup plan is not the VA for you. Number 8, what are some of your favorite tools that you use in your business? Now, the reason I like this question is because it's very open-ended and gives you, the client, a chance to see what sort of tools your VA is comfortable with. It's a nice way to suss out whether they're tech savvy or whether they stick to a lot of the basics. Plus, bonus, since it is an open-ended question, it's a nice way to suss out if you guys have any common tools together. So if you've got a VA who responds with, oh, I like to use Basecamp, Asana, Trello, FreshBooks, Wave, whatever it is that they mention, that's a pretty good indication that they are somebody who's open to using a handful of different tools, that they're pretty tech savvy, versus the person who says, I just use Google, or I really don't use that many tools. So something like this is actually a great way for you to understand a little bit more about their workflow and their tech savviness. Number 9, how quickly do you typically respond to emails? Now, if your VA on the phone says immediately, that is not true. Nobody can answer emails immediately, especially if your VA eventually takes on 20 different clients. So just know that somebody who says immediately does not have your best interest in mind. However, the VA who is a little more realistic, that can talk about how they are available from Monday through Friday between 9 to 5, and if you send an email, they will do their best to respond within 2 to 3 hours. Something like that is totally reasonable. It means they're checking their emails often. It means they're going to at least alert and respond when you send them a text to say task has been received. You want somebody who's going to be active online, but not somebody who's going to be so active that they tell you that they're going to be around 24/7. Which leads me to question number 10. It is always crucial to ask your VA about their parameters. These are their working hours. These are their rates. Having the knowledge, knowing right off the bat on your exploratory call about typical working hours for them and how much their rates are going to indicate whether this person really is a viable fit for you or not. Because if you talk to a VA who, since they are a business owner, they can set their own hours. If you talk to a VA who's only available from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. in your time zone, you've got to figure out if that works for you or not. If you have quiet mornings typically and like to work a lot in the afternoon, then maybe that's a good fit. If you've got crazy mornings, maybe that person's not such a good fit for you. But it is important to know that right off the bat. And the same goes with budget. Now, if this video was helpful, then awesome, my work here is done. I typically don't talk to the client side. I myself am a VA and talk to VAs online more often. But here's the catch. If you're a client who's looking to hire a VA or has just hired a new VA, I have a ton of courses on Udemy for your VA that will make them better for your business. I have 2 best-selling courses up online right now. One is different tools. There are over 25 tools that VAs can use every day to help propel their own business, but yours as well. And there's also a course on calendar management to make sure that they're taking care of you in the way that you need during your busy schedule. So keep that in mind. If you've got a brand new VA and you're looking to have them learn a little faster, do send them my Udemy courses. I'll pop a link in the description below. They are very helpful and can be very helpful to have your VA get a little more up to speed a little faster. And it's a great way to help develop the kind of strong VA that you want and deserve in your own business. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys stick around or check out some of my other videos. And as usual, I will see you next week.